It's Nicole Hetz. Thank you everyone for being here and being willing to learn a little bit about business. The idea today is for you to kind of gather a general knowledge of what it takes to be in business and kind of the first steps you should take to formalize your situation. Let me really quick share my screen so we can get this going. Here we go. Nope, shouldn't want that. Okay. Can you all see the presentation there? Great. Let's start from the beginning. My name, Nicole Hetz, my pronouns, she, her. As Naomi mentioned, I'm barred in Oregon, but also in Argentina. So I provide my services in Spanish and in English. I've realized that some folks just feel more comfortable talking about the law in Spanish when that's their language. So it is so important to provide that service and give people an option. Let me tell you really quickly about our firm. We are kind of different because we don't work on retainer fees or billable hours. We work on a project-based fee. So we offer 30 minutes free consultations. We kind of assess your case and we provide quotes of the services we see for you. And when you're ready to move on, you go with project number 1, project number 2. And so it's kind of easy and a different way to approach legal issues. A little disclaimer, this presentation is for general guidance. Please don't take this as a legal advice. Come to me and let's have a conversation about your case. So let's talk in general. What does it take to be in business and what does it mean? There are, in general, 6 steps that you need to consider when starting a business. The first one, and most general, planning, right? Choosing your name and your structure. Write a business plan, one that says the scope of services you're going to offer, estimate your opening costs, maybe formation costs. So kind of envision the whole plan and develop a plan. The business name may sound like something is easy, but it's actually the one and most important decision you can make, because once we register, it's really hard to rebrand. So make sure you spend some time on that business name and come up with something original and something that you really like. Step number 2, registering, right? What does it take? What kind of entity? We've heard about sole proprietorships, LLCs, partnerships, corporations, nonprofits. So really choosing the entity you're going to form and take the steps to register with the right institution. In the case of LLC corporations, it would be the Washington Secretary of State. Number 3, your tax numbers, register to pay your taxes, super important. Insurance, if you need one for your specific activity. Get a business license if that's what your activity requires. And if you're going to have employees, of course, know your obligation and what it takes to actually hire someone. So, I'm in business. Should I register and when should I register? There are different timings for all of this. So, ideally, anyone that has a business idea and wants to start offering some product or services in commerce, start by registering their name as an ABN, a DBA, or a trade name. What do they all mean? They all mean the same. Doing business as, assume business name or trade names, means that you are using a name in commerce other than your personal name. So basically what you're saying is, hello everyone, I'm in business, this is my name, and I'm taking the minimum steps to register for you to know where to find me if you need anything. Now, how do we register that name? The name has to be available. So we quickly do a little bit of research about if there's anyone or anything out there in commerce doing the same thing under the same name. This will also prevent future cease and desist letters for potential infringements. So we want to make sure that business name is available. The second thing is that that name has to be distinguishable, right? It means that it needs to be able to say what you are, what you're doing, and be able to be distinguishable in commerce. If, let's see where we are. What happens if you are in business and you're like, maybe I'm not too serious. I don't know if I should register. Should I invest money in this and the registration, the fees? Well, doing business without actually registering your name may result in lack of standing in court to pursue or defend legal actions, right? You're going to have a difficulty to open business bank accounts because everything's going to be under your personal name. So it's really important to take the actual steps to register as a separate entity or as your same person through a DBA, ABN, or trade name. It may happen that, for example, we see Stumptown Coffee, but we also see Stumptown Books. And so those are different things that are allowed in commerce because they are distinguishable. We wouldn't mix Stumptown Coffee for books because it says it right there in the name. So how does one start in business? You start as a sole proprietor. What does that mean? As the sole owner of the business, you can organize it as a sole proprietorship. While this is the easiest way to form the business, it is not highly recommended, right? Due to the liability placed on the owner of the sole proprietorship. As it says here, is an unincorporated business. In Oregon, in our case, I'm located in Oregon, you can establish the sole proprietorship without filing any legal documents with the Oregon Secretary of State. Same case for Washington. You just start in business as your person, and that business will be linked to your social security number. So it is you acting as one person in business. What are the advantages, but also the disadvantages of this? The advantage is that it's very simple because it doesn't take any documentation. You just start right off the bat as a business. The owner will be the sole beneficiary of all the profits. You take everything home. You're going to have the sole control over your business. It's not shared with anyone else, which is not the case, for example, for a nonprofit. And you do not have to annually file legal documents or reports or, keep up with any sort of documentation. Now, what happens? What is the disadvantage of not taking any steps? The owner is going to be personally liable for any obligations or debts. Any creditor can come after the owner, personal asset, right? Your house, your car, your bank account. It's really risky. The owner also has unlimited liability for any damages or losses that employees may cause. So if you are a sole proprietor that has someone working for you already, we want to analyze that relationship and make sure we in some way can cover all of those potential liabilities. The other thing is that it's hard to get financing, right? There's not much to offer. So when people are looking to invest in a business, they want ownership, they want membership units, they want value, they want shares. So in sole proprietorship, we don't have much to offer as we are just one person acting as a sole business. let's talk about the limited liability company. So what is it and what do we do with it? LLCs, limited liability companies, are the basic entity you can form. Why do we do this? To actually shield what we call the corporate veil, right? To shield the company assets from the personal assets and back and forth. We want to restrict creditors in case of any issues to actually point at the company and not at my house, at my car, or my assets. So the LLC exists separately from the owners. It's a separate entity. The owners are known as members. The members are not personally responsible for business debts and liabilities. Instead, is the LLC the one that will be responsible. The membership of an LLC and the way it works normally could be a single member LLC or a multi-member LLC. Single member, only one person is the owner. You normally went from sole proprietorship to an LLC. But it gets tricky when you have partners, more than one. That's when you're going to need a partnership operating agreement. And that's the document that lays out kind of the contract between those partners. Who's going to manage what? How are we going to distribute the profits? What about an exit strategy? What if we don't want to be in partnership together anymore? Let's develop a process for us to get out of this. So it's really important that when we file for an LLC, we take into account those formation documents. We want to lay out the relationship. We want to set up the expectation. The last thing I didn't mention about the LLC, what are the disadvantages? Really not many. It has some formation costs because there are filing fees. Big investors, what we call angel investors, or people that actually have, a good amount of money put into the business, they will want shares into the business. And normally we call them shareholders. And that's for corporations. This is not for LLCs. If you want to sell part of your business as an LLC, you will be selling membership units, and you will give that person, through your operating agreement, the right to either vote, consent, participate in meetings, make decisions. So it's really important that those formation documents reflect your relationship with your partners and how far it goes. That was really quick, but that was basically the main differences between that sole proprietorship, registering as a DBA, ABN, trade name, and actually taking the steps to form an LLC and what that implicates. There are some, of course, tax differences that you need to know about. When you make that transition between being a sole prop and becoming an LLC, we now all of a sudden have expenses that we can deduct. Maybe we're working from home and we have a designated area that we use as an office, and we can potentially deduct that. So I always say, hand in hand with an attorney, you always want to set up a consultation with an accountant or a CPA that can help you take advantage of your new entity, because I cannot give you that kind of advice. So that's a lot of information in terms of formation. The process itself is pretty straightforward because all of the state and federal institutions still rule by the 1950s. You fax a form, literally, to file for registration, plus the creation documents, and that's kind of the process to register the LLC. It takes around 5 to 7 business days, so it's pretty quick. Beyond the formation processes and other conversations we will have in the future, always take into account that if you're offering a service or a product, how are you offering that service? Do you have a contract, right? What are people signing? How do people know about your terms, right? That means description of services, payment methods. How are you getting paid? Are you accepting a deposit? Maybe you accept 50% upfront and 50% when you finish. So all of those things are super important to lay out in a contract, and people sometimes don't even realize how many processes the business has up until the moment they create the contract and need to put it in writing. So that's another important conversation to have about your business. That was a lot of information. I'm happy to take any questions about what I talk or anything related that you think we should bring up to discussion with the group. Let's see, we have one from Louise. How and when should you transition from a sole prop to LLC? Great question. I feel like that's the most asked question because it takes a little bit of an investment. The right answer is when you are making some money and when you are wanting to present yourself seriously in business, right? You want people to know you as a company, not as a person anymore. You're providing a service, and people feel different when they are hiring a company rather than just a person. A company has a different background, right? I have a website, I have a company name. I'm not just a person here doing what I do best. So the how and when, the when is when you're making some money and you are getting the word out about your business and you have a name. Take this step. How? Filing forms with the Secretary of State, and you can take a look. I believe you're very smart. Don't get me wrong, but if you can get a lawyer behind it, much better. In my case, we offer 30-minute free consultations, so I'm always happy to sit down with you, assess your special case, and see if registration is the most beneficial, or if we assess in 6 more months and see where it goes. And yeah. Any other question? Now is your time. You have a lawyer for free in front of you. Do you want to talk about contracts, trademarks, any other questions about the LLC registration? Do you have partners? Are you curious about like what kind of provisions, or are you just the sole owner?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're located in Oregon, but do you work with individuals that are located in the state of Washington?
Yes, correct. I can help you with business registration, with your contract, with trademarks, within my area of law.
Great. Well, the reason why I'm asking is because I'm a nurse, just turned into a nurse practitioner, and I am opening up a wellness. It's kind of a new category, and there's so much gray area. I've gone, like to the board of nursing to try to figure this out. But my question is, when you're, so I believe I have a service, but I'm not really sure if it's a service and a product, or it could be both, because what I'm doing is IV hydration. So I'm actually puncturing the skin, which is considered medical. I'm administering fluids. So is that considered a service, like administration of a fluid? Is that considered a service or a product?
Yeah, I would love to do some research about how other people are kind of doing it. For example, like Boost IB, they're providing IB services plus other products like Sofran and things you
Right.
expect. So it could be a combination. It doesn't need to be one or the other. In your case, I imagine some sort of like description of service, what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be doing it, which would be providing a product through it, right?
Yes, correct.
So it would be a matter of being really clear on what you're offering and how you're offering and giving information.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'll set up a consultation with you.
Yeah, of course. And some liability waivers, of course.
Yes, I have templates of all that. Yeah, because I'm doing like a course of it's called IV hydration or Academy IV hydration to get certified. But
Yeah.
I have a license I need to protect, so a couple of them.
Yeah.
So,
And it's always fun for me, of course, fun to see what the competition is doing and how they're doing it.
right.
See how Boost IB are providing that service and what kind of waivers do they make you sign, and about their website, what about terms and conditions, and see what kind of gray area they have covered.
Okay, well, what I'm finding is they're covered under franchise. So, they haven't had to like go through the steps. It's already been incorporated for them. So, yeah, that's what I'm finding, but I know there must be someone out there, so I'll look.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank-
Those questions are great. It does seem like a gray area, so it would be good to do some research.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. An IB in Olympia, rejuvenation. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, they're very, I will confess, I got an IB yesterday. It's amazing. I love it. Go get one. So what would you need a trademark for? Great question. Trademarks are a part of intellectual property. What's intellectual property? Copyrights, trademarks, and patents. What does it mean? It gives you the federal right to use a business name, a slogan, a logo, in the case of the trademark. The copyright is for articles, poems, books, programs, curriculums, and patents are for new product designs and machinery and how things work, but blah blah blah. The trademark, it works to protect your business name, logo federally. And what that means is that you can stop anyone in the same class that you have your service from using the same name. For example, as I mentioned, we have Stumptown Coffee, and that's probably class 30. There are 45 classes of trademark. Stumptown Coffee is class 30. But we also have Stumptown Books, and that's a class 15, and they can both coexist because they don't potentially infringe upon each other. But Nike won't like if I go ahead and go and register Nike shoes, because I will be competing directly with just Nike overall. So what that would do is, let's say I want to register this perfume right here and call it Woman's Business as a perfume. Well, normally if I get a trademark, it would be federally protected under the class for perfume, and no one else in the perfume class can register Woman in Business. So what happens when you discover that someone else is using something similar than your name? You can send a cease and desist letter. Super famous. I'm sure you've heard it before. Cease and desist letter for you. What does it mean? You need to stop using that name in commerce because I own the rights to it. More questions?
This might be a little outside the scope, But do you have any practice tips on filing your income with the Department of Revenue, specifically if you have formed a business, but you don't have any revenue yet?
That's a great question for an accountant. That's a great question for an accountant. I can't. Here's the only tip I can tell you about taxes in LLC. So you're a sole prop, you pay your own taxes, all good. You are your LLC, you normally have an EIN number, you pay your taxes through there, all great. The next step would be to become an S Corp, right? Maybe you've heard the term S Corp before. What does it mean? It's not a separate entity, but a tax election. And what that means is that you can pay yourself a reasonable salary. Reasonable salary in the law means that you can make the same amount of money as you could be making outside, right? So if it's $100,000, that would be great. That qualifies you for an S Corp. If you're not making money, I'm not sure how that works as an LLC. Please get the referral for an accountant and make sure you're taking advantage of the tax advantages of the LLC, more if your net is 0. More questions? I feel like Sarah maybe wanted to say something. Not to put you in the spot, Sarah.
Yeah, I had a similar question actually. So I don't know, maybe I should be talking to an accountant, but if I am a coach, so I provide services, but eventually I'd like to do a course, like a digital product. Would that be something that would be like, if I have every week you get support with me throughout the coaching, but you get like a module that gets released every week. Is that still considered a digital product, or is that still a service?
Will you be giving out curriculum, you mean?
Yeah.
So that gets tricky because a curriculum would be copyright, and copyright is intellectual property. So the question really is, are you licensing some of this information, or are you just giving it away? And is that giving away part of the service or not? And it seems like it goes in conjunction with the rest. So I would qualify it as part of the service in which a product is included.
Okay, yeah, because I was talking with Department of Revenue just to see like what the tax implications were, and they said it is a gray area because it sounds more like a digital product, and they consider it a digital product if it's something that they like the user can download on their computer.
Mm.
So like if I give them curriculum and it, they can download the PDF of it, but I'm offering services, it's like, so I wanted to get your opinion.
It sounds like a really great area.
Yeah.
And sadly, the only way to get the answer is to put it to the test. And I don't know if we want to do that.
I know. I don't want any issues, no audits, nothing like that. I want to make sure I'm operating by the book.
What I would do as a coach is make sure that my contract in the description of services, I delineate all the kinds of services they can get from me, all the curriculum I can do for them, and then attach an exhibit. And that would be even in more detail. This client is getting this many days, this amount of information, this information, and classes finish at this point, that sort of relationship.
Okay. All right. It's very specific. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course. No more questions. That's awesome. Thank you all for your time. This was great. I love talking. So if you have more questions, remember 30 minutes free consult, just schedule something and let's have a conversation. No pressure, no pressure.
Thank you, Nicole. And did your contact information, how would you like them to contact you?
The easiest way and the way the firm works is you go to the website, Rational Unicorn Legal Services, and you fill up an intake form. Your name, your info, what is it about? And when it says, do you want to work with an attorney? You can put my name there or look at other attorneys available. I'm happy to have a consult with you. So yeah, exactly. New client contact form. Say your case a little bit, and they will send you some times that we can schedule a consult.
All right, thank you so much. Do we have any more questions before we call it an afternoon? Well, the information that you provided was seriously invaluable, so we're all grateful of your time. And we look forward to having you back on the 17th, where we'll talk more in depth about trademarks and service agreements. And so we'll have another opportunity. If you do think of more questions, Nicole will be back on November 17th at 12 p.m. And again, this session was recorded. So if you'd like it in your email, let me know, and it'll also be on the website. I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. Thanks again, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Naomi. Yessie, so nice meeting you all. Please contact us. I will be back. I will be back for more. So stay tuned.
Bye. Thank you.